Good morning and welcome to our first OREA webinar, Tea Time with Tucker, on Tuesday today. Thank you for joining us. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. We'll do a couple of quick housekeeping details here and get rolling, talking about financial wellness, about getting your house in order in the new year, some changes and things like that as well. Grab a pen and paper today for today's webinar because we're going to give you a few things, places you can go check out for yourself. We're also going to send you a few things afterwards as well. All participants are in a listen-only mode, and that means if you've got a question, please drop that into Q&A in your activity bar there. And James Johnson and David Moritz, our co-host today, will help filter those out and address those. If it's something that's specific to your situation, we'll probably just address it online. If it's something that the whole group can benefit from, then we will also stop and answer that question as well. At the end of the conversation today, I want you to have your cell phone ready. We're going to show you how to use this QR code down here, how to get more information on some of the things we've talked about today. We are also recording this session, so if you join us at a later time or you want to go back and look at this with your spouse or the family member, you can do that. We'll have it posted on the OREA website probably sometime early next week. So let's go ahead and get rolling on here today. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. I live a little bit north of Houston with my wife, who is a second grade elementary school teacher. And I started my schooling in Bethany, Oklahoma, and then moved to Texas. But I've spent the better part of my career in classrooms helping educators who are active understand what their retirement benefits are like. And so I appreciate the opportunity to share with you today a little bit about some things that I've learned and some ways that maybe we can help your retirement go on as well. We're joined by David Moritz, who is your sales leader up there in Edmond, Oklahoma, and he is responsible for the team in Oklahoma as well as some other responsibilities within our company. So thank you for joining us today, David. And then James Johnson, who is new to our team at AMBA, and he'll be also joining us periodically throughout our webinars as a co-host, and you'll get to know him more, see him more up there as well. Before we move on, and I want those of you who are on this call that have taught in the classroom and you're already retired, think about your very first day as a student teacher. That little girl in the picture there in the middle, standing in front of the Final Four trophy a couple of years ago in Indianapolis, she just started her very first day last Tuesday in Waco as a student teacher. So she is following the path of all of you who have taught before. And that's my daughter. And so she's excited about calling me every night about what she's learned in the classroom and what she's doing and all that. So I think you can all remember back to when you first started in the classroom and what the fun that was there as well. So just a couple of quick reminders. OREA, especially as we go into the legislative session, is out looking to continue to support your pension, preserve those contributions or the stipends that you get towards your health benefits, how all that works, connecting you to the local community. One of our challenges this year that David and James and I are really going to be focused on is how to help some of your local chapters get back revitalized, bring more tools out to you, help you draw more members in to your local chapter and to the association at large, and then connect you with all of these great benefits and important discounts and things like that that you get by being a member in OREA. So please pay attention to the messages that Sabra and her team puts out throughout this legislative session. I know there are a lot of bills that are out there fighting in regards to privatizing more of education, possibly privatizing your pension, things like that. And having members in OREA stand up against some of those things is so crucial. So if you know someone who's a retired educator or soon to be a retired educator, please tell them about OREA and get them involved in the association to protect those things that you've worked all your career for. Some of the advantages of having OREA and AMBA together is, one, they're going to fill some gaps that maybe you're not covered by your benefits. The benefits that maybe you had when you were in the school that you left, or that maybe the state has cut back on, things like that. And they are portable benefits. If you leave the state for whatever reason, we have many, many members that move to Texas, move closer to grandkids, things like that. You can take all these benefits wherever you go. You can extend these benefits, a part of your OREA membership, to your family members. We have some members that have retired and their children are no longer eligible for their benefits because they've aged out. Well, they can have access to dental and vision plans through OREA, or they're responsible for taking care of a loved one or possibly for a parent. And by having proper benefits on your parents, it can prevent you from having to take additional time off from a second career or something like that. So there are a lot of different benefits of having OREA and AMBA together. But today we're going to talk about some of the most recent changes to Medicare, Social Security. We're going to show you some of the major gaps that a lot of retirees have and share with you some tips that you can act on right now. We're going to discuss required minimum distributions because there have been some law changes with some of the Secure Act or 2.0 Act that just happened last December. And we're going to talk about some of the discounts to help you start your year off right. So this is kind of a catch-all webinar to share with you not only some legal changes, some law changes, but also some ways that you can get your financial house in order and start off the year on a good financial footing. So grab a pen and paper. We're going to roll through this pretty rapidly. But if you do have questions, feel free to drop those into Q&A, and David and James and I will monitor those throughout here. So just a couple of good news points, I guess, going into this year. The cost of living increase for Social Security went up 8.7%, the largest change in many, many, many years. That's an average of about $140 a month, additional Social Security for individuals there. Then the Medicare Part B premiums on the other side are decreasing by $5. So that went down. So very rarely, and never in mine and David's lifetime, have we seen a spread where one's gone up and one's gone down. So this could be impacted by your income bracket, but for most people, your Medicare Part B payments are decreasing, and the deductible for Medicare Part B is going down just a little bit as well. Part of this is because last year in 2022, or actually when they were planning for 2022 and 2021, they were anticipating a very large spend on a particular Alzheimer's drug medication that was coming out of trial. That trial didn't go as well as they expected, so Medicare did not spend near as much on this Alzheimer's medication as they anticipated, and so therefore the cost went down. So this Medicare and You book, this is something that David and his team are very, very familiar with. They read it religiously. If you've got questions about what's changed in Medicare this year, I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can get David and his team to come out and review those things with you and make you aware, because there were some other changes, and we're going to talk about those more at the end of the month when we have our Medicare webinar, but I want you to be aware of that as well. A couple of reminders on Medicare, some changes that have taken place this year. They have increased the number of preventative and screening services that are covered. This includes more vaccines that have been covered in the past. Part D participants, those of you who have a separate drug coverage, Part D, it now includes more vaccines, including shingles. Some of them have no out-of-pocket costs. And you're going to see a significant change to out-of-pocket costs for insulin-dependent Medicare participants. In the past, this was not capped very high. It's now capped at $35, which is a significant savings for those of you who are on insulin, who are on Medicare. Now, this is not a change for Medicare, not a change for people who are insulin dependent who are not on Medicare. So you may see some of these things and they say, well, it didn't affect me. If you're on Medicare and you're using insulin, there is a pretty good cost savings, a cap out there for that. One thing I do want to point out, back in December, there was a Medicare breach of about 250,000 people that had some data get leaked out. You're going to be getting new Medicare cards and new Medicare IDs in a few weeks with new numbers on them. So just if those come in the mail, that's not a scam. Just know that you may be impacted by one of those situations to where there was some data breach out there. I would encourage you always to go to Medicare.gov, create your free online account, because it will tell you what screening services, what preventative care services that you're eligible for. And then you can match some of those things up with maybe the supplement plan that's available to you through OREA that David and his team can help you out with and help you understand. So go to Medicare.gov, set up your free Medicare account, and that way you can kind of keep abreast of the wellness items and things like that that can help you. And if you've got questions on specific Medicare issues, you can ask those things as well. Now, I'm going to give this as a disclaimer on the conversation that we're talking about going forward. This webinar is not designed to be tax specific. It's not designed to be specific for your situation. It's kind of generic in nature. So I'd highly encourage you to talk with your tax professional when we're talking about some of these things. But if you had a life-changing event last year, if you got married, you had a divorce, or a spouse passed away, or maybe you finally fully retired, meaning that you not only have stepped away from the classroom, but you're no longer working in another job after you left the classroom. Or you maybe had an income producing property, a rental property that got destroyed due to a disaster like a fire, or a tornado, or something like that. If any of those things happened, you had a life-changing event, you can file Form SSA 44, and it may reduce the amount that you pay for your Medicare Part B. Okay, a lot of this depends on what your household income, things like that. But if there were some major changes, you can get that possibly changed down for you there. So, all right, Barbara asked a great question about Medicare Part B. It says, do Part B payments come off of your Social Security before taxes, or do you pay taxes on Part B? Now, David, you can correct me on this one, but I believe that your Medicare is a non-taxable expense. So it doesn't come off of your Social Security before taxes. If you're having it taken out of your Social Security payments every month, like my mom is, her Medicare comes out when she gets her Social Security, your Social Security, when you get your statement, will be figured on your gross Social Security wages, not on what your Medicare is. Is that correct, David?
That's how, obviously, don't have it from experience. That's how I've, dealt with clients and understand it as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Barbara, for that question. Keep those questions coming. Drop those in the Q&A out there, and we'll try to answer those as we go forward. Now, just a couple of tips that I want to share with you as we roll on here to help maximize your savings. We all know that inflation's going up, or continues to go up. The good news, Social Security is kind of filling in for that gap there, but your pensions don't always go up. Understand your plans. Understand the health choices that you have in Oklahoma, what the state provides for you in terms of your stipend every year, but understand your copays and your deductibles. Those things will change periodically throughout the years. Understand what your OOP, or your out-of-pocket maximums, are. Those things go up. Those things can change. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, those things can change for you as well, the out-of-pocket maximums. Understand what your co-insurance clauses is, things that you're responsible for. For those of you who are not on Medicare, it's so important to understand, if you're taking the state health plans, what those copays, deductibles, and co-insurance clauses are, because that can be money out of your pocket that you didn't anticipate. Once you move over into Medicare, and maybe that becomes secondary, or you take a supplement on top of that, some of those things can be covered by those supplements, but it's important to understand your plans every year. Oftentimes, they will not only make slight tweaks to the out-of-pocket or the co-insurance clause, they will change them based on the type of procedure that you receive. And then they will also sometimes throw in some wellness benefits. One of the things that I've noticed in Oklahoma just the past couple of years is more and more use of teledoc services, and those being covered under certain plans more so than in the past because of COVID, and because of just the ease of use for many members. You don't have to get out and go see somebody in person. You can do a teledoc visit, and oftentimes if you follow their network and use those doctors inside of it, the teledoc procedure is covered. So important to understand, and ways to save you money that way as well. So as I mentioned, understand your coverage. One of the 5 tips to be a better healthcare consumer. Understand the perks and incentives. I go over to my mom's house pretty frequently, and there's always an envelope with a $25 gift card from her healthcare plan in there, because she got a mammogram, because she had a well woman checkup, things like that. Take advantage of those things. Try to use those not only for the gift card, which my mom loves those things, but more importantly, to keep her health, to make sure those things are there. When you are considering a procedure, even if it's an in-network procedure, ask around for pricing transparency. Shop around for those services, even with Medicare. So many of the Medicare-approved doctors may do the treatment for you, but they may have some of the readings done by out-of-network or non-Medicare approved facilities. I was talking with my mother-in-law just this past weekend, and the doctor that she was going to had a certain type of scan equipment, don't know what it was, and would do the scans right there in the office. And she loved that. Well, Medicare made rule changes that said that particular machine could not be used or reimbursed unless it was at a hospital. Well, he had this piece of equipment he could no longer use for Medicare. So shop around, understand what those things are. And then first of all things, don't skip out on your preventative care. There are so many things with these silver sneaker programs, with the wellness programs, and those preventative care things that both Medicare and those of you who are not Medicare eligible have available to you. Don't skip those things because it can make a world of difference for you in the future out there. And just know we're going to go into more of this Tuesday, the 24th, when we talk about Medicare, that even if you have Medicare or you are on a medical plan through the state or your spouse under age 65, there are 4 major gaps out there. And we're going to, like I said, discuss it more in depth here in a couple of weeks. But home health care and facility care plans change all the time, but they're not designed really for a lot of recovery or any type of home care or long-term care. Still, what we're seeing with cancer, heart attack, and stroke, about 60% of the aftercare of the diagnosis is not covered, and this is transportation related, experimental medications, comfort care, anti-nausea medications, things like that. Medical transportation, as many laws as Congress passes, ambulance services, air ambulance services seem to wiggle outside of those laws all the time. And the way they reclassify themselves and the cost related to medical transportation continues to go up, especially in Oklahoma, where you have so many rural miles between major medical centers and how that works. And then final expenses, life insurance, things like that. Your health insurance plans don't really cover that. And so important to know out there. All right, so we're going to go over the next several steps and talk about some actions that you can take last year and this year to adjust your spending, help you organize and plan. We're going to talk a little bit about insurance, auto, home, and life, and then ways that you can protect your nest egg as we go through here. So there are 3 big budget items that I want to talk about real briefly and just kind of show you some trends that we're starting to see in here: housing, transportation, and food. And these are the big 3 budget items that can really bust you out there. Surprisingly, we see a lot of retirees who still owe on their home with their mortgage. And depending upon the type of mortgage that you have with interest rates going up, we're going to talk a little bit about some ways that you can save going through there. Some things that we're seeing in the arena of housing with mortgages going up. If you had an adjustable rate mortgage anytime over these past 5 or 6 years when interest rates have been extremely low, now is the time to lock in your rate. You don't want to have those things continue to go up, interest rates continue to rise. That's a way that you can save some money and get more predictable there. We see a lot of retirees downsize. The challenge with downsizing is that you don't really change your expenses, unfortunately, because housing costs are going up in a lot of areas. But there are starting to be some cracks in that housing market, so it could be an opportunity there. House hacking is another term that we've heard recently that talks about utilizing your home as a moneymaker. We're all familiar with Airbnb and things like that, possibly where you can rent out a room or rent out your house or something like that if you want to. A little uncomfortable, in my opinion. However, my mother did take in a roommate this past year that helps her out with expenses, and it allows her to have someone there in case she falls or something like that. So it's been a real blessing for us. So that was a way that she was able to hack or utilize her home that way. Another way that I've seen, especially for those of you who maybe have storage building in your backyard, more space in your garage, is that people are using the Airbnb concept for storage. And there are services out there that will allow someone to store something in your garage or in your storage shed in the backyard and pay you for that privilege there. So it's just a way that you can do that as well. When it comes to driving, this is really, really huge. And we'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about insurance. Used cars are still in demand. If you've got an additional vehicle that you don't use, it's important that you need the income. You can give that vehicle or sell that vehicle and make some income that way. If you're using your vehicle less and less and you're driving less and less, you can save money on insurance. And I'll show you about that in a moment. With our passport program, we talk about meals. With the free passport program that all OREA members receive, there are lots of discounts on meal prep, dining out, and things like that. I'll share with you a few of those new discounts at the end of this conversation today, but those are some ways that you can save on your big budget items. When it comes to insurance, best time of the year to review it is before you renew. So it couldn't hurt to review it the first of the year. Look at on your auto insurance, look at your deductibles. A slight increase in your deductible can save you money if you've got the money that you've got available to you in your nest egg or your mattress money, your emergency savings. Look at your deductibles, review your liability coverage. If you've had kids move out of the household, you may not need as much liability coverage, but make sure you've got the proper liability coverage. One thing I noticed when I used to work in Louisiana was that teachers who have a pension seem to be a target of lawyers because they know if they're in an accident with a teacher, they're going to have an income stream in their pension all of their lives, and that lawyer loves to get into that pension. So it's important if you've got a good pension, you want to protect it. Your liability coverage can protect that. I mentioned mileage usage just a few moments ago. Many more companies are rating for mileage usage. If you're not driving very far, you may want to ask your insurance agent to rate you for mileage usage, and that can save you some money out there. Look for companies that offer discounts for teachers, retired educators, things like that. You can pick up an extra 5 to 10% that way. Specialty coverage. If you maybe had a pet in the past and that pet is no longer with you, you may be able to drop some coverage off your plans that don't apply anymore. Or if you used to work, some companies used to rate if you were driving to and from work and you don't work, you can drop some of those coverages off, things of that nature. Encourage you to shop around, but be very careful when you shop around. A lot of companies have sizable discounts up front for new customers, but you may be losing some claim forgiveness with a company that you just left, or you may be losing some renewal discounts, things like that. So shop around, very important. Encourage you to do that. When it comes to home insurance, we see this much more so along the coast than we're seeing in Oklahoma right now. Home insurance is going up because of all the storms that they've had down on the coast. It's getting harder and harder to insure homes, and homes values have gone up. So your replacement value of your home may be more than what the cost it would be to sell your home. That's okay. Your replacement value should not be what the tax records say. It should not be what you use to insure your home on. That replacement value is what it would cost to clear your slab and rebuild it from scratch. Maybe to better codes because you have to have more wind resistant codes up there because of tornadoes, things like that. Take a look at your replacement value of your homeowner's insurance policy. More companies this past year are starting to look very tightly at how they're valuing homes. If you feel your home is overvalued, please contact your agent. Again, check your deductibles. 2 reasons. As your home replacement value goes up, your deductible goes up. So if your home value is $200,000 and you have a 1% deductible, that's $2,000 out of your pocket before you can get your home repaired. Check your deductibles. Check your deductibles in Oklahoma if you have a separate wind and hail deductible. That means if a tornado or a hailstorm comes through, it may cost you more than if you have just a normal fire or a limb fall on your roof or something like that. So take that into in account there as well. Again, check your liability coverage. It's very inexpensive. That way, if somebody slips and falls and your property gets hurt, you're sued, you've got more protection that way. If you've done major renovations, like put a roof on, rewired your house, things like that, there are discounts with most companies for that. Again, look at the bundling opportunity with home and auto together. You can receive some benefits. Shop around. And again, don't forget, you may lose some benefits if you go somewhere for a cheaper price. So double check that as well. When it comes to life insurance, I encourage you to pull them out. I did this back watching some bowl games back at the first of the year. I pulled out all the life insurance policies we have in our house and check, do I still need these? Do I have some term policies that are coming up that are expiring that I may need more coverage? Do I have nursing home riders on my insurance policies? Could my premiums be changing? You may have some options out there. I highly encourage you to look at your life insurance, talk with David and his team. They can help you understand what type of life insurance you have, what you may have some provisions inside there that may cover you for going to a nursing home, something like that, that you may not have known that you have out there. So I encourage you to check that out there as well. Now, all of us probably made some form of New Year's resolution. And I will tell you, I make the same couple of New Year's resolutions every year. Some I'm better at, some I'm not better at. I want to show you a planning document. And I'm going to send everyone on this call today this planning document after we finish up here. I call it the ICOD checklist, in case of death or disaster checklist. And it goes through about 9 different categories and helps you organize yourself. And what I do at my house, I have it in a big plastic folder, copies of documents plus this checklist, that I live close enough to the coast. If they say it's time to evacuate, I can grab that and leave. My wife was in New York several years ago, but after 9/11, and had her wallet stolen with all her credit cards, with all her ID, the whole 9 yards in it. And I had her documentation that I was able to fax up to the police officers up there so that she could get out of New York and fly back home. So this ICON checklist can really help you planning with yourself and your family members. There are 9 different buckets on here. One that goes through your life events, where you want to collect all of your birth certificates, any licenses, decrees, adoption paper, things like that. Then you want to go down through your insurance and your retirement documents. This is so important. Every year, I don't care if you're at working or not working, check your beneficiaries on your policies, not only on your policies, but your pension documents as well. There are too many times that David and James and I have gone out to retirees to take a life insurance check, and it's been to a former spouse that's no longer part of the family anymore because there was never a beneficiary changed. Or we'll take life insurance checks out to 2 of 3 children because that third younger child was never added to a policy. Make sure you have those things in place. Check those beneficiaries. Check your pension documents. You may find that you have made a pension selection that once you pass away, your spouse gets nothing else, or vice versa. So you may want to check all of those things and what your pension entitlements are so that you or your family can know what to expect in the event of death or disaster there. Have your banking information there, your account numbers, now that we're all digital a lot, any passwords, login information, credit card numbers, who to contact, safety deposit boxes. My father-in-law's father passed away several years ago. Father-in-law went over to his house, found a big brown envelope with about 20 safety deposit box keys in it. Didn't have a bank, didn't have any information about it. So he spent a long time in the city of Houston, as you can imagine, going around finding what keys went to what boxes. Please, please, please let your family know what's in those boxes, what goes along with those keys. Then you're going to want to kind of separate your assets and liabilities on this checklist. I'm going to make it easy for you. I'll show you in a moment what your assets are. Anything that you own, timeshare, not only that, property, land, cemetery deeds, things like that, your car titles, anything related to any individual retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, anything like that, including passwords, any loans that you've made, anything like that. On the other side, your liabilities, mortgage details, if you've taken out a reverse mortgage, those type of things. Anything that you've got a debt on or liability, put those things down there as well. And then start to put down your monthly expenses, utilities, insurance, rent, mortgage, loans, memberships in OREA, memberships in AARP, subscriptions, things that you may have put on autopilot. Those kind of things. There are many times that we get calls here at AMBA that says, my mom passed away 6 months ago, and I didn't realize she was having her dental insurance taken out every month. Those type of things. Put all those things down, plus like subscriptions to Netflix, Disney Plus, things of that nature. Then all of your social media and email, your Facebook accounts, cell phones. We talked about streaming services, computer passwords. Make it easy for someone to come in of your family and take care of that. Then your contact details. Who's your doctor? Who's your AMBA representative? Who on David's team helps you out? that type of thing. Lawyer, minister, financial advisor, all those type of things. And then where your wills are, where your essential documents are, medical power of attorney, any instruction letters, burial wishes, things like that. Make sure you have all of those things. Now, I'm going to send you this copy here. It's going to be in just a attachment to an email after this webinar. I'm going to send it to you. And this is something that you can sit down with your spouse, with your kids, by yourself. Start to pull those things together. Don't feel like you've got to do it all at one time. Just start to pull those things together. If you've got questions, if you want to have someone review your benefits, you can use that QR code on there. David and his team can help you do that as well. And that. So I'm going to send this to you because you're an OREA member, you're on the webinar today, and you can have that and use that as you want to with your family and friends. And this is why. This is a photo of my mom and my daughter at Christmas 2 years ago. And I started noticing my mom repeat herself more and asking the same thing over and over a couple of times. So I made it my intention last year, my resolution in 2022, was to start to get her financial house in order. I didn't do a great job. We're getting there. So that's my new resolution this year. But these are some questions that I want you to start to tell your children, or maybe ask your parents, where do you keep your documents? Can I meet with your financial advisors? Who are your doctors and medical professionals? What meds are you on? Where's your pharmacy? My mom has a very specific pharmacy that she wants to receive her medication from, that type of thing. What have you done for your long-term care needs? You know, mom, if you fall and you need help with bathing, dressing yourself, what kind of care do you want? Do you want to stay at home? Do you want to move in with my brother or with me? That type of thing. You know, what are your wishes? My mom has a burial plot that's up on the Red River, up in the northern part of Texas. And so do you want to be buried up there? Do you want to service down here? That type of thing. So start to ask those questions. You'll be better prepared, not only if you're taking care of your parents, but if you're the parent being taken care of. Please have that. I'm going to send you a link to this document. This is a phenomenal document that AARP put together about thinking about that roadmap ahead, how to organize your finances, how to make sure you've got somebody that's a trusted financial advocate, be it a family member, be it somebody that's a financial professional, those type of things, how to start that conversation. This document will walk you through. You can print it off or you can use it online. AARP did a phenomenal job to make sure that as you need someone to take care of your finances, you've got control over that process as you go through there. So I'll send that to you as well. Now, every year we look at what do our OREA members face? And we've talked about in the past some of the threats that they face to their nest egg. The top 5 of those are taking care of an elderly parent, whether you're the elderly parent or whether somebody else is an elderly parent, you have parents that are still alive, that can be a threat to your nest egg. The death of a spouse without life insurance, adult children moving back home, a medical crisis, or overexposure to the stock market as we age. That can be some threats to your nest egg. And I briefly want to touch about overexposure to the stock market. We all know last year was not a good year. And a lot of us have money that we've saved up in a 403B plan if you're a retired educator, or maybe a spouse in a 401k plan, an IRA, something like that. Now that you're retired, can you afford to take a hit that you may not have that many years to build back up, especially if you're drawing money out of there? So it's important to understand that we just wrapped up the worst year in 14 years. The S&P 500 was down nearly 20%, but inflation is up on most major expenses significantly. And so our earning power is stretched on both ends. And we can't go just take and put all that money into a CD because it doesn't earn us much out there. So a lot of OREA members have come to us and say, how can we make sure we don't lose money, protect the nest egg that we've built, but still keep our purchasing power, still keep, if the stock market does bounce back up, that we get some gains out there. There is an OREA endorsed tax deferred asset protection plan that allows you to participate in the upside of the stock market, but no downside risk. You don't lose any money out there. It can take all types of monies, whether it's qualified money, meaning that you have not paid any taxes on it yet, or non-qualified money that you've already paid taxes on it out there. The one thing that I like about this, it has some long-term care benefits inside of it. And that's what appealed to me, because I've got family history of dementia. I don't qualify for long-term care. I have the ability to make sure I've got long-term care coverage in this plan with no underwriting out there. So there's some opportunities for you as we go forward that way. And then finally, I want to wrap up on a couple of new changes to the required minimum distributions. A OREA member last year said, please tell us more about RMDs, required minimum distributions. And so I'm going to give you just a quick overview. I'm going to show you some tremendous changes that the government has made. I very rarely say tremendous changes in RMDs in what the government's made, but there's some good stuff there. Required minimum distributions are how the government gets their share on monies that you've saved over your lifetime. I'm talking about individual retirement accounts, 401k, 403b accounts, 457 accounts for state workers and education employees as well. I'm not talking about those things that you have already paid taxes on, like Roth IRAs. I'm not talking about your pension that you get from the state. That's not really a RMD required plan. And I'm not talking about CDs and money market accounts unless they are in a tax deferred plan. An RMD is a portion that is owed the government based on your account, based on your age. That amount grows each year as you age, and it's based on the account balance from the previous year. It used to be up to 70 and a half. Once you turn 70 and a half, you had to start taking required minimum distributions out of your tax qualified plans. COVID came in and the stock market dropped, and the government said, no, you need to hold on to your money a little bit longer. We're going to let you save it more until age 72. Well, and this year, that's moved up to 73 and will eventually get up to 75 here by 2033. Part of the Secure 2.0 Act was that RMDs can be pushed back a little bit further depending upon your age. You have to take your first required minimum distribution by April 1st of the year after you turn 73. If you haven't taken out any RMDs prior to 70 and a half. So this is for people that are much younger, but as you get older, you take out your RMDs. You've got to take them out before December 31st every year after that. There's an IRS table. Again, I'm not going to get deep in the weeds here. Your tax professional will understand this. This is not money that you owe the IRS. This is money that you have to take out of your tax qualified plans, and it gets added to your gross income. Now, when it gets added to your gross income, that will impact the taxes that you owe. It could impact your deductions for mortgage, for charitable contributions, medical expenses, things like that, because your income is up. And it could impact what you pay for Plan B Medicare premiums. So again, RMDs do have an impact on your gross income that could change how your taxes are done and what you're eligible for. Now, it takes into account all of your aggregate balances, except for your 401k, 403b, and 457 plans. Those have to be calculated separately. But if you've got an IRA or something like that that you've set up that you own, all of those things can be lumped up together. Excuse me. You need to watch out for and not forget there's a tax penalty if you don't take out your RMDs. Now, the federal government lowered that to 50% with this Secure 2.0 Act, which is very nice, but there's still a 25% tax penalty. You don't want to do that. You can decide which IRA you want to take your monies from. You know, if a fund is performing really well and you don't want to take money from there, you want to take it from a poorly performing fund, you can do that. You can automate it. You can take it out periodically every month. You can do it annually. You can decide if you want to have any taxes taken out or not. There's a lot of things that you can decide, but the important thing is you have to make a decision. You have to involve a tax professional in this regards, but don't always rely on your stockbroker, your financial advisor to take out your RMDs. Oftentimes they forget, they're not responsible for it. So again, it's your responsibility. And some other things that if you don't have, you don't have to take out cash. If you've got some land in your holdings, you've got stock, you can sell stock certificates, things like that. If you have a much younger spouse, things are different too. So there's a lot of things to watch out for, but really most importantly, you are responsible for taking out your RMDs. Don't necessarily rely on your financial planner to do that for you. If you don't need that money right now, and I hope all of us get to be in that position where you don't need that money, you can use that money to purchase a long-term care plan so that you've got coverage both sides. You know that your taxes are taken care of and that you've got long-term care. You can look, for a life insurance policy, and you can fund an inheritance that you can pass on to kids and grandkids. You can convert some of that money to a Roth IRA and pay taxes on it this year, but never pay taxes on it in the future. There are some big changes coming in the coming years to Roth IRAs that may make this really worthwhile. Again, consult your tax professional on this, but these Roth IRA changes are pretty substantial coming up next year that can really save you money, leave a legacy for your family, stuff like that. Again, put it into a non-tax qualified plan like a Roth or something else like that. You can fund a grandkids college fund, make charitable contributions, qualified charitable contributions that eliminate the taxes. So there's a lot of things that you can do with these RMDs if you don't need the income. So make sure that you use your tax professional for that. We've talked about a lot of things. The biggest thing we've got to prepare for is living for many more years. It sounds oxymoronic, but the older we get, the longer we're going to live. And so studies will show that once we reach age 65, the chances of us living to 90 for women is still pretty significant. And we've got to consider the impact that inflation has on us, health issues, life changes, spouses passing away and income leaving us, things like that. It's important to know that we've got to plan for that, and we can help you plan for that. One of the ways that we can help you stay healthy is with our passport program. I'd highly encourage you to go out and take a look at it. It's at myambadiscounts.com. But check out myambadiscounts.com. If you're not registered, we can help you do that. Most of you are already registered. Just let me know. There are lots of discounts on vitamins and health supplements at GNC, brand new, 15% off at all the GNC stores all across the country. If you're looking into wellness, the Active Fit program, the Calm app, those type of things are out there. If you're thinking about from a financial perspective, lots of tax savings for tax prep, things like that are out there. Or if you say, you know what, I need to get a medical power of attorney, I need to get a will in place, those type of things, you can save 20% off. Again, all of this is part of your free membership in the passport program through myambadiscounts.com. Those are out there for you as well. And don't forget, schedule your benefits checkup today. Our life changes. OREA and AMBA are constantly out there searching to understand what the changes are each year and how those are impacting your Medicare, your state provided benefits, the benefit that you may have through a spouse, something like that. Schedule a benefits checkup today. Grab your smartphone. I want you to grab your smartphone and open up your camera feature. Take your camera and hover over that QR code. You've probably done this in a restaurant or at church or something like that. Hover over that QR code. Don't take a picture, but a little form will pop up. You'll hit your finger on there and you can fill out information. Just check benefits review. And David and his team can help you understand some of the stuff we've talked about today, the changes to Medicare, all the things that are out there that OREA members have available to them as well. If you're joining us on a smart device, if you're joining us on your iPad or on your phone, and you can't use that QR code feature, simply email me, john.green@amba.info, and say, hey, I need a benefit review. We'll take care of that and help you get set up for that. I'm going to show you this QR code here in a moment. Just a quick reminder, our next webinar series, our webinar is coming on the 24th. We're going to break down the basics of Medicare. I think you can all kind of breathe a little easier that Tom Selleck and Jimmy J.J. Walker are not on your TV every morning now, but that doesn't mean that the changes in Medicare haven't impacted you. So it's just a different time of year. We'll make sure that you understand what all goes into Medicare, the changes for this year more in depth, and then how you can maximize your availability and your offerings through OREA. So Again, tell your friends about OREA. I guarantee there's not anyone on our call this morning that doesn't know a retired educator who's not a member. Please, please, please let them know about OREA. Introduce them to this webinar series. Let them taste and see what OREA is about. And hopefully they'll become a member, because we definitely need more members to help us with our legislative agenda and OREA's legislative agenda in Oklahoma. So I'm going to wrap it up here. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop those into Q&A. Use that QR code here or email me. Either way, I'll stay on a few more minutes. And thank you for joining us. But everyone who's on the call today is going to receive an attachment, a form that's that ICOD checklist that you can print and use with yourself, with your family members. And I'm going to send you that link to that AARP financial roadmap so that you can kind of have those discussions with your family members, whether it's your parents or with your kids, to help make sure that your financial house is in order. So again, thank you very much for joining us for this first webinar of the year. We look forward to seeing you either out at your chapter meetings, at a convention, day at the Capitol, or back on these webinar series sometime soon. David, thank you for joining us today. And again, if you've got any questions, I'll hang around just for a few more minutes and answer those in Q&A. Everyone, take care and have a great day.